We have a quiz. The quiz is going to cover section 10.1 and 10.2. The quiz has 10 questions. You can use your calculator. Remember to bring the calculator that I told you to purchase at the beginning of the year. If you forget your calculator, I do have basic calculators you can borrow. All we're really using it for is to add and subtract, nothing too complicated for this lesson or for these two lessons. So 10 questions. Now, remember, don't just focus on the quiz review that's posted. I highly recommend that you go back over both warm-ups and also your homework. So the quiz review does not cover everything. It covers a good majority of the quiz though. So let's take a look at the quiz review that is posted. So this is what is posted. Now, the last question, that picture of the clock at the bottom, you will not have any real world examples or have to do that. So you could get rid of that last question. And if you also look at number 17, you see how it says it's from 10.3. So we are not quizzing on 10.3. So also get rid of number 17. Now, numbers 15 and 16 were like number 4 on the warm-up. And again, this will not be on the quiz where you have to explain why the arcs are congruent. It may be on the test, but it's not on the quiz. So for the quiz review, I would focus on questions 1 through 14. This is a good place to start. Now, as far as questions 1 through 6, I'm going to ask you questions where you're going to have to identify the parts of the circle. However, instead of asking for you to name a diameter, the way that the questions are going to be asked tomorrow is, for example, I'm going to say, what is JL? And then you're going to have to tell me, is it a diameter, a secant, a tangent, a chord, a radius? These questions will be multiple choice, okay? So again, it'll say, what is JL? And you pick the multiple choice answer. Also be able to do a question like this where I ask you to find the value of the variable. This question was in the day 2 homework, and this was the supplemental problems that I did to the 10-1 notes. Again, if you opened up the notes the next day, they were the 4 additional examples at the bottom. So in order to do a question like this, we have to plug these numbers into the Pythagorean theorem. So notice it is a right triangle. So we're going to be plugging it into a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is A, this is B, and then remember C is composed of the x plus 9. So this is your C value. So this is where we had to FOIL. This is why we did that whole algebra review. So we're going to do x squared plus 15 squared equals x plus 9 squared. Now, it wouldn't have mattered if you said the 15 was A and the x was B. These two could have been interchanged, but the C must be the x plus 9. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. So now I'm going to go ahead and square the 15. I'm going to FOIL the x plus 9 squared, because if you just square the x and the 9, you're going to get it wrong. You miss out on that middle term. So I get x squared plus 9 squared plus 9 squared plus 81. Once I combine my middle terms, I get 18x plus 81. I now need to get my like terms together. So what I could do is subtract x squared from both sides. And now I'm left with 225 is equal to 18x plus 81. My goal is to get x by itself. So I need to subtract 81. And then once I subtract 225 and 81, that gives me 144. And then now I have to divide 144 by 18. And once I do that, I get x equals 8. So my value of x is 8. So be able to do a question like this. This was in the homework. We did additional examples of this in the notes. Also be able to apply the congruent tangents here. So whenever two tangent segments meet at the same common external point, these two tangents are congruent. So all we would have to do here is set 6x minus 3 equal to 3x plus 18. And then you would solve it. And then questions 9 through 14, this was just like what we did in the warm-up. You're going to go ahead and find the angle, the arc measure, and classify it as either major, minor, or semicircle arc. Now again, you can't just focus on these 14 questions. Go back over your reviews, your warm-ups, and your homework. Now, in the 10-1 warm-up, there was a question where you had to tell whether a segment was a tangent or a tangent line. Remember, it must satisfy the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, if it does not, then that segment or that line is not tangent. So in that type of explanation, your work of showing me how it satisfies or does not satisfy the Pythagorean theorem, if it satisfies the Pythagorean theorem, then it means it's a right triangle and there is a right angle where that tangent and that radius meet at the point of tangency. So if you get a question like that, that would be your explanation. If you just tell me yes or no with no explanation, you're going to lose most of the points. Also review internal and external tangents. Review how to draw tangents or any of these segments. Again, use this review, use your warm-ups, go back through your homework because there are definitely questions in the homework that are also on the quiz. Okay,